Hey guys, what's up? It's Rob. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you coming and watching this stream. This is the first time that I've done this, so if you guys are here, I see Joe and I see Jake. Thank you guys for being here. Um, I appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel for more content. I do stuff about live music and trips I take and stuff like that. So just trying to get it started up. So thank you guys for being here. The reason I'm doing this one is because I had the opportunity of a lifetime. These don't come around very often, but earlier last week, I got a text from my good friend Jake, and he said, "Hey, I can get you into Epic Universe. You should fly down this weekend." And I was just, you're making this up. This can't be true. So this is the theme park, obviously, Epic Universe, that has not opened yet. It doesn't open until May 22nd, 2025. And so the idea of getting into this park 2 months before it's actually supposed to open was pretty freaking amazing. So Shannon, I smell plastic. No, I actually, you might be surprised about that one. So I appreciate you friends being here tonight. So I got to spend 2 days at Universal's new Epic Universe Park, and I want to share what I saw. Spoiler free. So I am a huge fan of the idea of going into a park without knowing what's there, especially an attraction. And how often are we going to have the chance in our lifetimes to be able to go into a park for the very first time and not know anything about it? So obviously you want to know some things about it. What are the lands? What's the lay of the land? That kind of things. But I'm not going to talk about any of this stuff in particular of the attractions that might spoil something for you. But if you guys have any questions about anything, hit me up in the chat, and I'll try to answer them as we go along. And then I'll show you some, as we talk about the lands, show you some of the amazing amounts of merch that I bought while I was there. It was a lot of fun. So, and again, there were no photos allowed during this 2 day, and that is crippling for me. I take pictures of my food at McDonald's. I take pictures of my food anywhere I go. I take pictures of street signs and cats and whatever. So it's one of those things where the idea of not being able to take a single picture from something that is so amazing was astounding. And so thankfully everybody in the group, we were giving each other group therapy about not taking pictures along the way. But it's just habit. You see something and it's in a theme park and it's new and it's exciting and you want to take a picture of it and post it on social or share it with friends or use it to tell the story later, and you weren't allowed to do it. And I get it. I respect that they want to keep a lot of this stuff under wraps until it's actually fully like it's open and ready to go. And it felt so ready to go. Again, 2 months early. I remember trying to get a soft open for Frozen Ever After, which was just an overlay of an existing attraction, and they were like the day of opening that thing up, still with some issues at Disney. So the idea that these guys have their act together enough to do a preview, not just team member previews, but now inviting other people, family and friends into the parks was pretty amazing. So again, feel free to ask any questions as we go along. So like I said, Tuesday night, I get a text from Jake, and he said, "Hey, you should come down." I always have to ask permission. I don't operate in a vacuum. I have to ask permission. Pieces are moving around, so reach out to Mrs. Say, "Hey, can we do this? We got to get somebody to watch dogs," all that kind of stuff. Get a late flight to Orlando, which was a thing. But then when I was looking around to where to stay, I thought, why not stay at Stella Nova, the brand new hotel that opened up on January 21st. They already opened up the Universal Hotel, and those people can still go to the Studios Park and to Islands of Adventure or to Volcano Bay. So, and then get to stay in a new hotel. Now, this is one of their value hotels, and it was very surprising to me that it felt nicer than a Disney, and I'm not trying to bash Disney on any of this stuff, but it felt nicer than a Disney value resort. It was just very interesting to be able to go into this one and know that it was about the same price as Pop Century, but everything was in one building. You know, you didn't have a main building with satellite buildings. It's one building with one lobby, one check-in desk. There's the bar in the lobby. There's a market. There's a Universal gift shop, which has so much epic merchandise in it. This sweatshirt came from that epic merch, that store. And then the elevators, we went up to the third floor and walked down the hallway and got to see the star hallway, which was very cool. And then went up to our room, and it feels very much like it's a space theme. They have NASA artwork on the walls, and they have rounded windows, and it was really cool. But it was really late when we got there on Friday night. It was like 2 a.m. before we ended up going to bed, and the next morning everybody wanted to basically be ready to go at 7:45. So we get there, and Jake picks us up, and we go, and we meet up, and there's Annie and Kira and my wife and I, and we go over, and we sit at the toll plaza, and the first thing I do, of course, is I take a picture, and then they're like, no, you can't do that. And I didn't, we weren't even in. So I was like, delete, we're done. Hold my phone, somebody else. I can't do anything. So we weren't even in anywhere. I just was like excited to be there. So we were very excited to be in there, so much so that everything was exciting. Everything was new. There was a new the new toll plaza. There was the new parking lot. The parking lot is broken up and themed with the 5 lands. So there's for Celestial Park, there's the Explorer parking lot, and for the Super Nintendo World, there's the Gamer parking lot, the Monster lot, the Hero lot for Harry Potter and the Ministry of Magic, and then there was another lot just called Vikings. So a lot of cool stuff in there. That was very neat. And then again, we're just walking in at this point, and there's not a parking deck, which is different for Universal. We walk up to the front gate, and you can see the massive Cronus. So here it is. This is the main gate into the park. Now, this, you have to go through ticketing before you get to this, but Universal released this picture today. This is not one that I took. This is actually officially from Universal. So they, you can see on the Chronos that it shows the 4 different lands represented on the icons that are there that you're going to see when you go in. Very cool. But you walk up to the front gates, and then you get through the photo ticketing system, and then you're in. And so we got into the park, and it was gorgeous. Just being able to be in this park that I've never been in before and look across, and there's just the expanse of this. And we get so excited about a new land at Universal Hollywood or at Disneyland or at Disney World, or just a new ride like Tron or Guardians of the Galaxy. And here is this whole new land with new foods, new restaurants that we've never been to, new shops that we've never shopped in, that I've never spent my money in, and all of the attractions and entertainment was there. So again, 2 months early, being able to get in there and basically experience it like a guest would for the very first time was amazing. No, we couldn't take pictures, but there were a couple photo spots along the way, and I'll show you some of those pictures that we had. Annie, who was with us, posted them on her social media, and so they've been out there, but we were allowed to do that. But just those pictures that were approved internally. So we didn't we couldn't take any pictures of any food or anything else that was there. So anyway, it was a lot of fun to go in there, and we went into the first shop, which is like a Christmas shop, but there weren't Christmas items yet, and there was just a lot of Universal stuff in there. But everything that we did, whether it was going into a shop or just looking at the fountains or anything else, it was amazing. Thinking about how the rivers of America are going away and looking at the use that Universal has of water in Celestial Park is just, it's heartbreaking to me to think that the rivers of America are going away, because that is such a vibe and a mood to see all the water and the fountains and just the cascading landscape and everything in there was so beautiful. And Celestial Park is a land unto itself. It's called a world between worlds, and it's really cool that you get to go in, and it's like a main street. This is the first time that Universal's really done sort of a hub and spoke sort of a park, and it reminds me of a mall, and the fact that you can jet from one store to another, and you don't have to go all the way around the lagoon for islands or for World Showcase to go all the way around the water. You can bop back and forth between lands. So I love the convenience of that and the structure, and you can do that when you build a park from the ground up. So we went in Celestial Park, and we ate so much food on this trip. We ate everywhere. But I was shocked to see how many different restaurants Celestial Park actually already had when we got in there. So Celestial Park had so many, and I'm looking to see if I don't think I have the ability to do this here. So they had a huge restaurant called Atlantic, and that was not open, but that's a table service restaurant. At the other side of Celestial, they had the Blue Dragon, which the day before we got there, they installed the Blue Dragon himself, and that's a Pan-Asian at the other side of Celestial. Neither of those were open up to us, but we did get to go to the Oak and Star Tavern, which was delicious. It was barbecue. They have a meat and a side, or two meats and a side, or you can get a brisket sandwich, and they had, I feel like, the best fries that I had, and I had a lot of fries while I was there. There was barbecue fries. They had barbecue seasoning on them, and they were very good. Inside the Oak and Star is a bar called the Plastered Owl, and the Plastered Owl, that is hilarious to me, but it's inside the Oak and Star, has its own little I'm blanking on the word, but the Jake, help me out. What's the word I'm looking for? Coasters. Coasters. So they had their own coasters in there. That was pretty cool. And then the drink they have called the Plastered Owl was really good. I got to try that. And then they have, every restaurant was table service in the fact that you would scan the QR code, you would order on the app, and then they would bring the food to your table. So, but the restaurants are also set up that they could do a counter service situation if they wanted to, where you could walk in, go through a queue, order, and go sit down. And, you know, they had different options that they could do down the road, but this was all through mobile order. So we would go in, scan the QR code, order what we want, and they would bring it. And all of them had Coke Freestyle machines. And the Coke Freestyle machines in Celestial Park have the Celestial Spritz, which is a specialty concoction on the Coke Freestyle machines, which is really good. It's like a blood orange Fanta-ish mix, and definitely would suggest that you try that one. So Phenomenal Brandy said, already watched Annie's video. I'm so excited to hear your perspective. Thank you. I appreciate that, Brandy. I actually did not watch Annie's because I was like, I don't know what she said, but I don't want to be like, kind of like say the same thing. So hopefully I don't repeat too much, but I'm sure that, I mean, we had a very similar experience. So there's a good shot that it's going to be very similar. So we did Oak and Star, and we didn't do that the day with Annie. So that was something different that we did. We did the Plastered Owl, and then also we went into Pizza Moon, which is this beautiful, like, kind of, it looks like you're walking into a Monty Python poster, the way that everything is set up inside. And the hats that they have to wear are really, they look like a half moon on top of their heads. And when you go into that one, you can just smell the pizza. It smelled delicious. We didn't actually eat pizza there because we had literally just eaten, but we were going to get a dessert there that looked really good. There was this brownie that looked amazing, and by the time we got in there to try to get the brownie, they were gone. So didn't get a chance to eat that brownie, but we heard good things. We did eat at the Meteor Astro Pub, which the Meteor Astro Pub is down more closer to the edge of the park where the Grand Helios Hotel is going to be, and so that is. We had chicken and waffles there, which was amazing, and then they had this dessert while we were in there that was, I think it was Atlas's chocolate cake, which we all agreed sort of tasted like a Little Debbie. So most of the desserts were really good. This one was just, it was okay. There was nothing really wrong with it, but it was not the same level, I feel like, as the other stuff that they had there. But the chicken and waffles were delicious there. Again, every restaurant had the Coke Freestyle machines in it. And then all of them had the mobile order at the table, so we all did that. There were like I said, there were two. The table service restaurants were not open to us, and there were a couple other little places that were not open to us as well. I think it was the Frosty Moon, which is ice cream, the Comet Dogs, and I think Bar Zenith wasn't open, but the rest of them all were. So much food. One of the things I've always thought about Universal is that the food is not at the same level as Disney, and this is the complete opposite. there was more food than we could eat. There were more places to go that we wanted to try that we didn't get a chance to. So I'm so excited for people to try the food and to hear what they think about it. It was almost like they said, okay, what are the things that people would like to see us do better at our next park? And the food is definitely a place where they brought it. And I could eat at a different place each time. We've secured tickets to go back in June, take the kids, and I don't know where we're going to take them at this point because I kind of want to take them to all the places. And this is just in Celestial Park. So from a merch standpoint, I got this at the hotel, this Epic Universe quarter zip. But they gave us these fanny packs. So let me see. So you can see it right there. Obviously, it's just a traditional. They're not called fanny packs now. There's some like a belt bag, I think, or something is what my wife said that they're called. But they gave us this when we were in there. Pretty cool. And so I'm very excited for my daughter to wear this, but I probably won't wear it. But it was really cool that they gave us when we got in there. I also got this T-shirt because I love T-shirts. It says Epic Universe. I've never wanted Universal merch as much as I wanted it this time, so I spent a lot of money on Universal merch. So I bought this quarter zip. I bought this T-shirt. But this is kind of the epic stuff. Now there was this cat, and if you watch Annie's video, I'm sure she talked about Captain Cacao, and there was this stuffed cat that was an original character for Celestial Park. I know Jake has at least one. But the cat was really cute, and so I hope that there's like a meet and greet and some things like that we get to see with Captain Cacao later. There's probably a lot of lore that we missed out on, and I would love to see like a comic book or something that we could see like that would explain all of the thought that went into Celestial Park and what everything represents, the big statues on either side of the park, and the way that it's laid out, and the original characters. I would love to see all of that stuff laid out, and I would totally read that. And even without knowing that, I think you still have a good time in there, and it's beautiful. But I would love to see more about the lore of Celestial Park. So waist pouch, yes, that could be a thing. I feel like I was told belted something, but yeah. Oh my gosh, Jake, you're right. It is a bear. Why did I say cat? Maybe it's Captain Cacao, and I thought it was a cat, but he's a bear. I'm so sorry to offend Captain Cacao. That is horrible. Lady, real life Evie, any dining options open yet? Yeah, like they were all. There was so much open. All of those that I talked about before, and when we get into the individual portals or the lands, I'll talk about those too. The ones that were in the different lands. The only one that oh, he's watching too. Okay, he forgives me. I appreciate that. So anyway, it was so cool going into that area that I probably could have stayed in that area, but then we had to figure out which portal we were going to go in first. We ended up going into Dark Universe first, but what I want to do is kind of talk about each of the lands going clockwise, starting with the first one that we get to is Super Nintendo World. Now I went to the one in Hollywood before this one opened up, so I had been able to sort of sample that. So I wasn't as excited about Super Nintendo World as I think I would have been otherwise. I love Nintendo. I grew up with the original NES. My son played the Wii and the Switch. So I love the Nintendo characters, and the idea that Universal has Nintendo is a huge game changer, pun intended. But they had a gift shop outside that had statues carved into the sides that were Bowser and Donkey Kong, and there was a fountain with spinning. There was a fountain outside that was cool. I don't want to ruin that. That was a pretty cool thing. But once you go to the portal, to go up in there. This picture that Universal released today shows you what it looks like inside. And again, very similar to what we see when we look at Osaka, very similar to what we see when we look at Hollywood. But the one in Hollywood does not have this Yoshi ride. So I had never ridden that. And that was freaking adorable. I loved the Yoshi ride. That was a lot of fun. So when you go into this one and you see it, it's that big reveal. All of these have that huge reveal when you walk in. The reveal that you see when you go into Galaxy's Edge and you see the Millennium Falcon for the first time. When you walk down Main Street and you look down and you see Cinderella's castle for the first time, it's that kind of reveal. And when you walk into Universal's portals at Epic Universe, each one of them has its own reveal. And this one, you went up an escalator and walked out into this picture that you see here. So it was sort of like more like a warp pipe, and you would go in here, and once you're in here, you're in Nintendo, and it's kind of amazing and awesome. You get a power-up band that you can buy. These are not free, obviously. And this is, again, if you've followed all the stuff from Osaka, if you followed all the stuff from Hollywood, you know about these bands. They're almost like slap bracelets. They are. And you just basically go around and you punch the blocks and you get coins, and you can pull up the app, and in the app you can play the game where you punch the blocks and you get the coins. There's a game that you can play in the land where you go and you collect keys, and then you take those keys to enter like a final battle room. That's something we didn't do this time, but it was something we did in Hollywood that was really cool. You do each of these little adventures to get the keys, and then once you do, you get in there. And I was concerned about the one in Hollywood that we weren't really going to be able to get in and do stuff because it would be too crowded. But it ended up working out fine. And I think that eventually you'll have that same thing here. There's so much to do in the land with going and hitting the coins that it's going to be really neat experience for people. And so you kind of have to have one of these to experience the whole thing. There's one major attraction aside from Yoshi in this part of the land, which is the Mario Kart. And the Mario Kart attraction also encourages you to have one of these bands. They tell you to tap it on the steering wheel when you get in there. It's the same exact attraction as they have in Hollywood and Osaka. So it's really neat to go ahead, to be able to see this and not have to travel too far, because I feel like most of you guys are probably on the East Coast and you go in and you try this out. And so I would definitely suggest getting one of these. I think they have maybe 6 or 8 of them. They did not have Donkey Kong ones when we were in California, but because there is a Donkey Kong Country section of this, they have Donkey Kong ones. So I was very tempted to get a Donkey Kong one to add to the collection, but I need to be in control of my Magic Band / Power Band addiction and only get the Mario one that I have. So the Daisy one is my wife's. Each of the kids got one. I think my daughter got Toad, and my son may have gotten Peach. That may be how that worked out. But again, it's a lot of fun, so I definitely recommend doing the same as the wand in Harry Potter. It feels like this is something that Universal has done a good job of integrating, to the point where if you don't have one, you could probably be okay, but you really probably want one to be able to take advantage of all the stuff in the land. I know that as we were going through as a group, everybody would go through and tap their bands on the different things in the land, or do the power punch up on the block. So that was a lot of fun. There is aside from the Mario Kart attraction and the Yoshi attraction, there is also a different land that you can go to adjacent to this, which is Donkey Kong Country, which doesn't exist in Hollywood. And in the Donkey Kong Country, it's just so cool, and I can't wait for Donkey Kong meet and greet to be there. There's a place kind of set off on the side for him, but he was not there for this preview. But I can't wait to see Donkey Kong. I've seen the video of him in Osaka, and he looks amazing. So I want to meet Donkey Kong. That is the thing I want to do. They did have Mario and Luigi out while we were there that you could go and meet them, but they did not have Donkey Kong yet. But the Donkey Kong minecart is exactly the thing that it's better than I thought it would be. If you guys haven't seen it before, the concept was that you have 2 tracks, so that the top car, your car that you're sitting in, looks like it's jumping over different broken tracks the same way you would in the game Donkey Kong Country. And so, but the bottom is where the actual coaster is. So as you go through, you really can't see where where you're going to go next, because the track is so far down and what you're seeing is the broken track in front of you. And again, no more spoilers on that. It's just fun. I love that one. That one was probably my second favorite attraction that we did while we were there. I know Jake is going to be upset about that because he's a big Stardust Racers fan, which we'll talk about in a minute. So those were the ones from the land. That whole Donkey Kong Annex is a great addition that we didn't have in Hollywood. The Yoshi attraction is so cool. It's sort of like the people mover of the land that you get on it and you can ride through and be able to get a bird's eye view of the entire land. Get a band, go in there. That'll be a lot of fun. You've probably seen so many videos of how a lot of that stuff works. So I won't kind of go on too much about that. And then the restaurant, the Toadstool Cafe. We didn't get to go in Hollywood, so I was very excited about that. So cool. In the Toadstool Cafe, and by the way, special shout out to Kira for doing this. This is a hack I've never thought of before, is I have a problem with things, paper, collecting things, and the food came with, the Mario burger came with a little hat, and so I wanted to keep that. And then when we were in Berk, the Viking meals came with little flags. These were kids' meals that we were getting, by the way. And so I had these, and they had food stuff on them. And I was about to put in my backpack, and she said, "Oh, do you want a Ziploc?" Why do I not carry Ziplocs around? That's amazing, especially when you do things like water rides and you want to put your wallet in it or anything like that. I don't know if you guys all do that or not, but if you don't, you should, because it was so cool. So thank you again for that, Kira. That was awesome to be able to just throw stuff in there. And then I took it back with me the next day just in case I got any other stuff that I wanted to hold on to. Real Life Evie says, Donkey Kong meet and greet is a highlight for me for sure. Yeah, it's definitely going to be cool, I think. So that was, I didn't get a ton of merch from Super Nintendo World because again, we had been there to the one in Hollywood. A lot of the merch was very similar. We already had our power bands from before. They work in both Hollywood and in Florida, so that's really neat that they're, you can use them in either one. And I at the Toadstool Cafe, I was really hoping to try the dessert there. I know Annie was as well. We didn't get a chance to do that, but I hope that it's going to be one of those places that everybody can get into, because the one in Hollywood, they cut it off at a certain time during the day because once it's full, they have all the reservations and you can't get in anymore. So hopefully that's not going to be the case here. Everybody will have a chance to go in and try it. That's really the only restaurant in the land is the Toadstool Cafe. So going back out of Super Nintendo and going down through Celestial Park to the next one, it was Dark Universe. And Dark Universe was honestly the one that I was really kind of looking forward to the most. Again, Super Nintendo love, but I had been to the one in Hollywood, and I was looking forward to the extras this one was going to have. And then, Berk was a wild card for me. Ministry of Magic was a wild card, but Dark Universe was going to be the one that I was the most excited about. And this attraction, which is Monsters Unchained, is amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and I was surprised that my wife wanted to do it not once, not twice, but 3 times. So we did it 3 times, and each time, because this is a technical rehearsal, there were a couple things that each time were a little better than the last time, things that maybe were malfunctioning or that they were still working on. And it was, the last one we rode was the last thing we did before we left. It was the last thing we squeezed in, and it was so cool to see. And so that's the one that I'm looking forward to bringing the kids back to. The queues for all of these attractions are so immersive, and I think if you have a disability pass and you miss out on some of these things, that's going to be kind of a bummer, because some of those are so cool. Those cues, being able to see all those little details in them. I know that even, and if Brandy, if you're still here, in Dollywood, our favorite attraction is the Fire in the Hole, is why am I blanking on the name of that? It's my favorite. What is the name of that attraction, Brandy? Burnin' Fury. Blazing Fury. We did it. Blazing Fury. So Blazing Fury is a really neat, weird, old attraction, but there's some stuff in the queue that like are posters and things like when you're in the load zone that are referenced later in the ride, and my son was obsessed with that when we rode it. That he was like, okay, well that's there, let's find it in the ride. So he's always looking for details and things in queues. Same thing with web slingers and trying to find like the Squirrel Girl and Squirrel Girl's bike and these other things. So when we go through monsters, the queue is amazing. But all of them are. The queue for Mario Kart is amazing. And the Donkey Kong queue was so cool. So I hope everybody gets to enjoy the queue, but also I hope that you don't have to wait hours and hours once Epic Universe opens up in order to ride each of these attractions. But Monsters Unchained, I can't say enough good things about it. Number one on my list of all the things that we got to do attraction-wise, and we did it 3 times. So, that was the coolest attraction in there. There was a restaurant called Das Steakhouse, and we did not really get to eat there, but we walked through it. It's very cool inside. Same thing where you go, you can sit down, do the scan the code. They had a blood orange chicken sandwich, which was, sort of a joke on the blood thing. And when I was thinking about going, or when I was thinking ahead about this before I knew I was going, Das Steakhouse was the first thing on my list that I thought I'd want to do, and we didn't end up doing it because there's so many other good food choices everywhere. So Das Steakhouse is in there, and then the shops that are in there are amazing. Also, there is a monster makeover place which we walked into and looked around at. It's sort of the Bibbidi Bobbidi boutique of monsters, but one of the things that the person immediately said to us was, if you like to drink alcoholic beverages, you need to drink them before you come and have your makeover, because once you do have your makeover, they will not serve you because they won't be able to identify you from your ID. I thought that was funny. But if so, take that warning that if you decide that you need a monster makeover, go ahead and have all your alcoholic beverages first. It was a lot of fun seeing that little area because I probably won't ever do that. I'm very weird about like masks and makeup and things, and I don't know why. So I don't really do a lot of that. I don't put a lot of that stuff on. But I think that it's probably going to be a lot of fun for people who like to do that, and that Monster Makeover thing will probably be a huge hit. But it's kind of listed as an attraction for the land, but it was something that I didn't do, but it was neat to see. And then they have they have a couple different shops in there. And then the other restaurant is the Burning Blade Tavern, which is underneath the big windmill that's supposed to catch fire. I know Jake said he saw it on fire while we were there. I didn't get to see it on fire. That was one of the few things I didn't get to do that was on my to-do list that I would have loved to have seen, is the thing burning. But we did get to go in it, and inside was amazing. There's a little bar inside. There's a little place to eat outside. They have some quick bites. They had some cheddar bites that looked like little like burnt charred rocks, but they were so incredibly delicious. They also had something that was called like a garlic steak, which I thought, oh, garlic steak. I love steak, but it's not steak. It's like a knife steak. And so it was sort of like a garlic pretzel, and that was really good too. So that was a neat place to go to get snacks. They also had like a signature drink in there as well that was a mocktail. But I think that the guy who checked us into our hotel said that you can ask them to add alcohol to it. They call it something else at that point, but it was really neat to try that one while we were there too. So we did that, and we did the werewolf roller coaster, which was pretty cool. It spins around a little bit. It feels like almost Guardians outside. But it wasn't as heavily themed as everything else was. So it was neat that there's another attraction in that land. But it was, of all the roller coasters that we did, I think that one was kind of like number 4 for me, but it was still a neat attraction. There were no misses, I feel like, in general, but as you start to rank things, that one would probably be lower on the list for me, but we did get a chance to try it. So that was a lot of fun. And then there's like smoke in the areas, or like a fog. That's cool. It's like a whole vibe. And so very similar to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which has Batuu. In Dark Universe, you're in Darkmoor. So that's the name of the area. But I had a lot of conversations with my wife ahead of time about like, what is this really called? she asked me because she wanted to be telling people the correct thing. I said it's the Dark Universe, so I didn't want to confuse her with the Darkmoor part. But when you're there in the lands, they always call you travelers, which is cool, depending on which land you're in. But when we were in Berk, they called us Vikings the entire time. When we were leaving the the attractions in Dark Universe, they said stay safe out there. So it was really neat, the theming that they do. They're not over the top with it, but it's enough of it that it's a lot of fun and you enjoy it. The costuming for the Monsters Unchained, that attraction was by far the coolest park attraction costume I think I've ever seen. It was this big kind of like black, almost executioner's outfit. It looked really cool. Some of the other outfits in Dark Universe were really neat as well. Some of them looked like kind of like an Igor lab coat in some of the shops, especially that monster makeover place. They had that, so that was cool. Again, without too much spoilers, Dark Universe was delivered on what I thought I wanted to see in this, but it was probably my third favorite land. So fourth would have been Super Nintendo, only because I had seen it before. Third would be Dark Universe, and honestly, second was probably the next one, which as you're going around the clockwise, you pass the hotel. You get to the next one is the Harry Potter, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic. And when you walk in, they have gone all in on Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. So if you haven't seen those movies, I would definitely say before you go to Epic Universe, watch those movies, especially number 2. But I feel like you can't get to 2 without 1, so watch 1 and 2. There are 3 of them, but I would definitely watch that second movie because there's that. Basically, it comes to life in there. So there is a. There's a show in there, Cirque Arcanu, which was very cool. I loved seeing the tent for that, and we went inside, and again without spoilers, that was maybe one of the coolest theme park shows I've ever seen as far as like the technical standpoint of it. The things that they did inside to me were just astounding. So I would highly recommend going to see that show. It'll probably be a little bit of a wait to get in. But we knew there wasn't going to be the attraction, the Ministry of Magic attraction wasn't going to be open yet. So I wasn't looking forward to this land in the same way I would have Hogsmeade or Diagon Alley. But when we got in there and you could just see the scale of everything, it was massive. Overwhelming, the scale of things. And I feel like it's one of those places very much like the Harry Potter worlds over at Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, where you could spend forever in there. Now, we didn't have the 2.0 wands. Actually, Annie brought one with her, but we weren't able to figure out what we needed to do, which may have been a little bit early in their process there. Again, 2 months before this park opens. But we didn't try too hard to use it, but we did try a little bit. But I was very tempted to buy a wand here because I think the 2.0 wands are going to be a big part of this land once people get into it. So there are like back alleys, and there was this one area where we go into a back alley, and there's a guy holding open a door, and we walk into it, and it's a restaurant. It was very cool. So there's 2 restaurants and a bar. There are several shops, including a French version of the candy shop, French version of the wand shop, and then they have the Cirque Arcanu show, and then in the back is the Ministry of Magic. And we did get to tour the queue, which that alone just blew me away. Like, we just walked in and just jaws dropped going into there. It's the same feeling of when you get to go into Hogwarts for the first time, or when you turn the corner in Diagon Alley and you see the dragon and the streets. The inside of the land is cool, but the inside of that particular space is amazing. I did want to talk a little bit about the merch for Dark Universe before I move on from this one. So one of the things I got was, I saw this online, and as soon as I saw it online, I was like, I have to have this. And it's this shirt, which from the castle from Monsters Unchained, and it looks like a blueprint of the Frankenstein Manor. So there's that, and on the back it says Frankenstein Manor on it. So, I mean, I'm not a huge Monsters fan, but I just needed to have that because it looked so cool. So I bought that, And then we bought another one which has the monsters on it from the land, which are very cool. And then again, on the back of it, it has the Dark Universe logo on it. So pretty cool. I'm very excited about like getting to wear all this stuff. I feel like we just kept buying and buying with no thought of when the heck are we going to wear this stuff. But it was addictive. It was really cool. Which again, going back to what I said about the restaurants in Universal, Universal merch was never something that I really wanted to have before, and now I wanted it all. I wanted everything. Like the previews dropped, I think Friday, which was when we were headed there, of what the merch was going to look like, and we're like making lists of everything, or it was Thursday or Friday, of all the things we wanted to look for, and then we got there and there was more stuff, so it was very cool. So my wife is a Harry Potter movie fan, not a book fan, which is crazy because she reads all the time. I never read, but she loves the movies, has never read the books, but she's like, I don't want to. I like the movies. Very strange. So I've read all the books. I don't read ever. I mean, I would say I would even question if I'm literate other than the fact that I've read all the Harry Potter books. So when I watched, the movies, the first one lined up really well. And then the second ones, I feel like as the series went on, they kind of broke away from the books a little bit, but she loves the movies. So we watched the Fantastic Beasts movies. She loves those as well. So when we went into the land the first time and looked around, we were just in awe. But when she went back the second time and started going through the shops, we were in trouble. So she bought this cap, which is from the land, and it says Place Cachet, I think is what it's supposed to be, like the hidden place. And so here's the baseball cap that she bought from that one. And then I feel like most people know that the attraction for Ministry of Magic, there's a flu powder. You're transported through flu powder. I don't think that that's a secret. But they have a subway called Metro Flu, and they have a whole line of merch. And so she bought this cup from it, which has the logo on it. She actually did a semester in London, and so she was really into the idea of the tube. And so this was something that she was like, I can't not have this cup. And so, yeah, so we got this cup. It's very cool. No. Stormy Stitch. No, we didn't do the cafe on the second day. So there was too much food. There was too much food and not enough time to do it. If I had been able to do more food, it would have been Das Steakhouse and the Pizza Moon, but we just didn't have it in us to do any more food than we did. But there is a cafe as you walk in, like a little French bistro when you walk into the land. And then there's that hidden restaurant that I was talking about that's over to the side. So there are two restaurants in the land, plus, like I said, the bar. I did go into the bar so that I could get a frozen butter beer because that was on my to-do list. I freaking love me a frozen butter beer. I can't tell you why I'm addicted to them, but I am. I don't know if you guys have gotten the Teddy Graham butter beer cookies that are out now, but I also got those. But the frozen butter beer was on point, and then Jake got an old fashioned, and that was also very good. So the other thing is, again, this is the Ministry of Magic we're talking about. There was this really cool sweatshirt for the Ministry of Magic, and again, very in universe. Like this clothing, I feel like it's the kind of thing that maybe that you would be able to wear if you worked for the ministry. Although I know, I don't think people walk around like, hey, I work for city government. But the Ministry of Magic shirt, like sweatshirt, it's just, we couldn't stop seeing things that we wanted. Phenomenal Brandy said, I want that butter beer crepe so bad. I wanted to eat everything. I wanted to eat it all. And we ate so much. Like, I can't even tell you how much food we ate the entire in those 2 days. And it was only open from 10 to 6, and we got there at the very beginning of it, pretty much both days, and then we're there until they blew the whistle at 6 o'clock, and then we kind of meandered out, hit the gift shop and all that stuff. So we did the days full and just couldn't get all the food in. But I do want to talk a little bit about some of the food when we get to Berk too. They also had some cool things. Speaking, Brandy, of butterbeer, they had this cool T-shirt in there, which I hadn't seen anywhere else other than Epic Universe. So again, there's nothing really on the back of this one, but just such a cool shirt. It kind of looks a little Eastery with the sort of the purplish greenish and almost look like an egg, but or it looks like maybe just a beer label. But definitely a cool shirt. And then also they had a house shirt which we had never seen. It was like the four houses. It's this striped shirt. As you can see, we have a lot of shirts, and again, I don't know where we're gonna have time to wear all of them, but it's very simple and plain. It's got the stripes on it. It's got the Four Houses logo on it. It's not over the top. It doesn't say, Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff or anything really big on it. So I definitely was into the idea of getting these in-universe clothing pieces. So like I said, we got most of the stuff that we bought was in Berk and in the Ministry of Magic area. But I can't wait for that attraction to be open. It sounds amazing. It could be my new favorite when we go. I know that I love a lot of the Gringotts is great. Gringotts is one of our favorites. My wife gets motion sickness, and she still will ride that one because she loves the movies, she loves the IP, and she just kind of gets lost in that storyline. I feel like Gringotts and Mummy are very similar in their ride systems, and we were like, oh, if you can do Gringotts, surely you can do the Mummy. And then she's like, no. She wrote it once, and I was like, you are a liar. They're nothing alike. Brandy, how inclusive was the merch sizing? Are folks bigger than an XL going to be sad? No, I don't think so. I did see XL, 2XL, and 3XL shirts in the lands too. There wasn't a lot of extra smalls, but there was some. So there was extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, 2X and 3X. I didn't see anything larger than 3X though, but I don't think that should be a problem. I do love a larger shirt, so I understand that completely. But no, I don't think you'll be sad. I think there'll be lots of things to grab along the way. Back at the monster stuff, a lot of the stuff looks like that over the top old school monster posters, and so that's not really my vibe. But I think that there were so many people wearing that stuff that it was really cool to see. So then we went, when we left there, so we saw the show there. The show was amazing. The streets, phenomenal. We had a street performer. They have roaming characters in the land. They have a band in the land at the Ministry of Magic land. They had a three-piece band. They had girls who were dressed up like they were students. So they were students who were wearing Gryffindor garb. There was a Beauxbatons girl dressed up and just walking around the streets, having conversations with people. I hope they keep that forever. We remember that as streetmosphere that they used to have at Hollywood Studios that we miss so much. So I hope that they keep that vibe there. It really makes the land feel alive. They have a little bit of that in Galaxy's Edge with Vi and Rey walking around, but this really felt a little bit more organic. There was a guy who walked up to us as if we were, just lost tourists, and he wanted to ask if we were looking for the Ministry of Magic, and he pointed over to the building, and it's just beautiful. No, because you're supposed to be in France. And he's like a little bit of an accent, and he kind of like pulled his jacket back a little bit, and he had a wand, and he's like kind of pointing to the wand almost as if to say like, I got, I'm armed, I guess. But it was a neat little interaction. Although as we were standing there afterwards, Jake was like, yeah, I was wondering why that guy was just lingering. But I mean, we were sitting there talking. He didn't interrupt us, but then he came up and, excuse me, and just started talking to us. So it was really neat to see that. But we did see like the girls talking to families down the street. It's a neat way to make this land really feel alive. And I don't know that we've really seen this at this level before, because there was a woman just like that in the Burning Blade Cafe, or the Burning Blade Tavern. She was talking to us, and she would kind of howl and start conversations. And she said to me like, where are you from? And we're like, North Carolina. And she said, I don't know this North Carolina. Are there any scary monsters there? And I said, Bill Belichick Sorry, Don. Anyway, but it's really funny to interact with those folks. I love doing that. I think it would give my daughter anxiety to do that. So I'm sure that they see who would be fun to play with and who wouldn't, the same way they do it like Halloween Horror Nights and things like that. So anyway, so we had fun in that land. And then when we left that land, we went around to Berk. But between that land and Berk in Celestial Park is Stardust Racers. Stardust Racers may be the third best thing that I did there. Sorry, but it was so good. It's a very cool, fast, dueling roller coaster. So again, without any spoilers, it is pretty intense, pretty amazing. My wife, again, like I said, gets motion sickness. I'm glad she didn't go on it with us. I know that Annie was freaking out when she got on it and she didn't want to go, and I didn't know what she wanted me to do. I was sitting with her and she was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, am I talking you into this? Am I talking you out of this? Like, what am I doing? And then we got onto it, and afterwards she was like, that was amazing. So I definitely highly recommend that one. It wasn't on my must do, but when we did it, I would make it on my must do list for the next time because it was so good. Again, Jake's like, I know it's amazing. I don't want to say anything past what I've said about it now because it is really a cool attraction. And then when you move on past that, you get to the portal for Berk, which, when they first announced they were doing a How to Train Your Dragon land, I was like, what's that going to be like? Because I loved the movie, but I hadn't seen it in a long time. And so before we went, I actually started watching the movie, and it is so good. I know there's a live action version coming this June. I'm excited more than ever to see that now. I watched the first movie. We watched the second movie. I haven't gotten to the third movie yet. I wish I'd had time to binge all three. Again, this is a note. I would have watched all three Fantastic Beasts movies again and all three of the How to Train Your Dragon movies again before I went, because I think that you're not going to miss out necessarily. You're still going to have a good time. But I think if you know the characters and the storylines, it means so much more in those two lands than I think the others. Like, Super Nintendo World is great, and most people understand Nintendo and Mario and Power Blocks and all that, so you don't really need to study up. Although I feel like having played Donkey Kong Country so much, it meant more to me for that attraction, which probably why it was number 2. The Dark Universe, like, the monsters, so it's not really, I don't know how much you would benefit from going back and watching the old ones, those movies, but it'd be fun. But I definitely feel like study-wise, you need to see at least the first, if not the second, and the third How to Train Your Dragon, and at least the second of the Fantastic Beasts movies. So when you walk into Berk, there's so much water, and again, I get that vibe of like, what's Frontierland going to look like when there's no water? When they fill in this huge river that has been there my entire life, what's that going to be like? Because the water vibe when you go in there makes it so inviting and peaceful and fun as soon as you walk in. It's this big loop that you walk around when you go up, and they have, there are dragons around, which I think is really cool that they were able to do that. There's some dragons that you see and they're just interacting on the side. Some of them are they're supposed to be roaming ones, which we didn't see, but I know I've seen online. And then there's a meet and greet with Toothless, which is great. Now I think to myself, if you didn't know the storyline, would you still be enamored by the Toothless meet and greet? And I think you would be. It's outside so you can see it. It's covered, but it's outside so that you can see it when you walk by. And he is freaking amazing, adorable. We had such a good time getting to see him, and that was, again, one of the cooler experiences that we got to do, was getting to meet him. And while we were waiting, Astrid walked up and she talked to us, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I again think that you should probably study up a little bit and know what those stories are, so that you can enjoy the lands a little bit better. Brandy said the pic of us with Toothless is the cutest thing. He was so good. He was so good. I was trying to see if I could pull it up real quick, but I will see. I don't see it right now in my list. So I'll definitely try to pull it up. Or Jake, if you want to send it to me, I can try to put it up. But so we met Toothless, and then there's a show that is called The Untrainable Dragon, and it's very similar to the one in Universal Beijing, and it is it was going through technical rehearsal, so we went to the we went to the second show, and they stopped it in the middle. And I had seen this happen before when we did technical rehearsals for the Bourne Spectacular over at Universal Studios Park. It was right after COVID, and they were doing trainings for that, and we got to go over and see it, and they would stop and they would reset, and we would get to see it again for the technical rehearsals. This is a very similar situation where they would start the show, it would get to a certain point, they stopped it, then they started again, it would get to a certain point, and then at one point they were just like, you know what, this isn't going to work, we're gonna let you go, and you come back. And when we came back for the next show, it went off without a hitch, and it was so cool. It was so neat to see, again, the dragons in the show, the characters that you know from the movie. There was singing, which was a song that I couldn't get out of my head, and now I can't remember the words, but the melody is still in my head. And the effects were great, and so there are only 2 shows that are like stage shows, but I feel like that's bigger than a lot of things that Universal's done before, because I know they have Bourne Stuntacular, but these 2 shows were so good that I would highly recommend you doing them. I think the problem is going to be that you're going to spend some time waiting in line for those, and then seeing the show that you may miss out on something else. So, you know, those of you who go often, which I think is a lot of us, I definitely think you should go and watch this show. And the one in the Wizarding World portal. Then there was a ride that I didn't get to ride because I feel like no one wanted to ride it with me, and it was called Fire Drill. And Fire Drill is you get on a boat and you ride through and you shoot at targets, and apparently you get soaking wet, and everybody who was with us was like, I don't really want to get soaking wet. So that was, I think, really the only attraction that was open that we didn't do was Fire Drill, but you could see it from like the air, like the higher points of Berk, and you can look down on it and see what's happening, so that you can kind of enjoy other people riding that ride. But definitely something that's going to be on my to-do list when we get back in the next time and see that. But in general, like, just again coming around the corner and seeing that's Berk, and I know that Hiccup's line is always, this is Berk. This is it. This is Berk. When you walk in and you look across the water and you see, like, the houses and the buildings, it's just beautiful seeing that when you walk in. I didn't actually show the Ministry of Magic Land, I don't think, when we were doing that. So we walk in, and that's the circus tent that you see down at the end. On the right is the candy shop, and on the left is another little shop where, again, we spent a good amount of money. So Berk was by far, I think, my favorite land, because I think I could have hung out there the whole time. There was this macaroni and cheese bread cone that we had heard about, that Annie had talked about, and so the next day when we went back, we made it a point to go back and get this cone. It was from a stand, it wasn't from a restaurant. We got this cone, and the bread was so good. I can taste it now, and they had different kinds. It was very similar to the Cozy Cone in Disneyland, if you've been to that, where you have this cone, and inside the cone, paper cone, is this bread cone, and then inside that they put the macaroni and cheese, and then the one I got also had like a spicy chicken on top of it, and it was so good. We just kind of scarfed that down before we went to see the show, and it was amazing. It was really good. And the other day that we were there, we actually went into Mead Hall, which was a huge surprise. Like, I was not expecting anything food-wise from Mead Hall. We went in there, and Kira had salmon and loved the salmon. She'd been wanting salmon all day. That was great. We got kids' meals, and the kids' meals were really good. It was like these cooked carrots, and there was macaroni bites and sausage. Very strange combination, smoked sausage, but it worked. And then there were these honey barbecue wings that I got that were so good. And then just the vibe in there. There were tapestries on the wall, and and it was like you're in another place. My wife always talks about the Polynesian, that it feels like you're somewhere else. That's why she loves the Poly. Is she feels like she is somewhere else. She has escaped, she is away when she goes there. Each of these lands were so well themed and immersive that it did feel the same way. It felt like you were somewhere else. And because we've never been here, because we've never walked through these lands, it just felt like it was like nothing I've ever seen, and I wanted to do it again and again and again and again, which is something that like is different for me from Universal. The other properties, I love going to Universal and riding those attractions and doing those things, but this was like, I want to live here. And my wife actually said to me, "Are we Universal people now?" Like, I mean, it was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, Jake said, did I mention Gobber? So Gobber, again, if you know the movie, it makes more sense. But Gobber is the blacksmith who teaches Hiccup how to be a blacksmith. And there is a blacksmith shop. He's there with his dragon Grumpy, and you can come and you can talk to Gobber. And he was hilarious. He was so funny. He's got that thick Scottish accent. He's walking around, and it's, you know, it's a face character. So he's talking to you and he's pointing out things, and he was amazing to see. So that's another one of those things in the land where you feel like, you know, it is very organic and kinetic and things happening, and it feels immersive, and it was really cool to see and hear him talk, and I'm just like staring because his ears are like cartoonish, but they look cool, and he's got this big Viking beard, and he's pointing at talking about like the stuff in the blacksmith shop, and it was just really, it was really very cool. So then they have a how to treat your dragon shop, which has candies in it. And I know that Annie had bought a kind of a thing to unbox from there. And we actually went in there. We had heard that they had the marshmallow sheep. We didn't get. I don't think we got the marshmallow sheep, but it was really cool going in there and walking around. Brandy said, "Is that a handwich?" It kind of feels like a handwich. Yeah, the thing that we got, the macaroni and cheese cone. But again, too much food. There was way too much food. So the meat hall meal, we didn't need that meal. We went into quote unquote snack. It was after we had already done Toadstool Cafe, where I had gotten a Mario burger and got my little hat, and my wife got a salad, and she had like a Parmesan crispy star on top of it. And so and Annie got like a kid's meal, which looked amazing. It was like a Mario Adventure set is what it was called. We had actually gone in there just to get a dessert, we thought, and then we ended up eating in there. And then we ate at the Burning Blade. We ate the snacks there. We ate at the Toadstool, and then we went and ate at Mead Hall, and all of it was really, really good. The girl in Mead Hall was so nice. So they have, for the kids' meals, they had this. I'm like a lot of us in this world, in this weird club that we're all in, where I like paper stuff. And so this was a Viking ship that the kids' meal came in, and Annie got hers and I wanted mine, and we were trying to figure out how to unfold it, and this woman walks by who says she folds them all day long, and she walked through the process of unfolding it for us, and so that I could bring it home. But like the little touches like that, I hope never go away. I don't know if any of you guys remember the Grand Floridian Cafe, when it first opened, had paper dolls as part of the kids menu, and I think I still have one that I probably took and didn't let my son play with because I wanted to keep it. Those little touches, I think, make a big difference, and I love the fact that they have this this Viking ship. There was a lot of other stuff that was paper that I was very tempted to take with me that I didn't take with me because we had already gotten something on it or whatever. But yeah, that was very, very cool of her to unfold those for us. And she told us a joke, and I wish for the heck I could remember what the joke was, but I can't. She told us a Viking joke. So if Kira or Jake, if you guys remember what it was, let me know. So again, in Berk, there were a couple other rides. One of them was the Hiccup's Wing Gliders. And it was a very cool roller coaster, and it reminded me of something, the new Bear roller coaster at and again, Brandy is the Dollywood expert, but there's a roller coaster that they have at Dollywood that reminded me a little bit of, because it winds through the land and goes like by rocks, and there's all kinds of like animatronics and things like that you get to see. Again, no more about that, but it is very cool that they do that. Also, in some of like the show and the safety videos and things, they use the actual actors from How to Train Your Dragon, and I was like, oh, hey, that's like really America Ferrera who plays Astrid. And Jake was like, I don't know if you know this, but we're a movie company, we can do that kind of thing. And but it's still weird, like cool to me, that you can get the actual actors who did these movies to come back in and voice like an instructional video for how to get on a ride. So again, we did not do the fire drill, and we didn't do the Viking playground for the kids, but we did everything else in there. And it was I think the wing gliders was Big Bear Mountain. That's exactly what it is. So it felt a lot like that, Brandy. But that roller coaster was cool. But again, I think that my favorite was Monsters, followed by Donkey Kong, probably followed by Stardust. Those were like the top three for me. But we were changing our minds constantly. Like, what's the best food? Well, it's this. Well, now we've eaten this. This is really good. So that's a great problem to have. I cannot wait for other people to get in there and talk about like their favorite things from this, and maybe it will help me kind of narrow in on what mine are, because even though I've ranked the lands like 1 through 4, that could change when Ministry of Magic opens up, because that attraction queue was so amazing. I can't imagine that the ride won't be as cool. The Donkey Kong stuff, when I go back with my son, I'm sure he'll want to ride that. And there were little touches all over the land that were really cool to see. So I'm excited to go back, spend some time in Epic Universe again. I'm glad that the one-day tickets are on sale, so that you can buy a one-day ticket and you don't have to buy the 3-day tickets to get into Epic one day and the other 2 parks the rest of the time. So, one-day tickets are on sale. I think they announced it Wednesday or Thursday that those were on sale, and I went in immediately, and there was a virtual queue to get in, and it was crazy how many people were in the system trying to buy those one-day tickets. So hopefully you guys are going to go and experience the whole thing for yourself as well. So for Berk, I did get, again, don't worry, I bought more stuff. I know everybody was worried. Here's this really cute hat because I do love hats. But here is this really cute hat with Toothless on the front. That was neat. We got some shorts for my daughter. This pattern was on all of the tapestries and all over the place. This particular Toothless right here, and then all these other dragons. So we saw this look a lot in a lot of different places all around Berk, but that was cool. This was a shirt that has that same dragon on it. It says, "Do you know any dragons?" And then it's a long sleeve shirt. So down this sleeve are actually the rest of those dragon drawings. There we go. So that is really cool. And then on the in the tag it says Isle of Berk, but it doesn't really have anything else on the back. So very cool shirt. My wife's a huge patch fan, and so there were some patches as we went around, and she got this Isle of Berk patch for her backpack. I love a good baseball shirt, as you guys know if you watch Park Center. And so this shirt was sort of a must-have for me. With it says Legion of Legends on the back, and then it's got dragons across the front, and then it has the boy, the man, the myth, the legend. Toothless is there on the sleeve. So I had to have this one. There was no doubt about it. And then finally, I mean, you can't walk out of How to Train Your Dragon land without some kind of a dragon, right? I mean, that's kind of a thing you have to do. I don't know. I actually feel like I was very contained on my purchases, in the fact that I probably could have bought more, and I probably will buy more. There were some really cool monster like stuffed animals, which they had like these little chibi monsters that are all holding like their own little stuffed animal. And those were in the preview center, I think, when we saw that over at City Walk, but we saw them in the land and kind of wanted them, and we didn't get them at the last minute. There was a pin set that like a pin chaser set from the Frankenstein Manor, and so I know that Kira got a set of those and opened up. There was 2 in a box of the blind packs, and she got the chaser, which was awesome. But everything was individual. They had like really cool bags in the Monster Land that were different from the bags, like the reusable ones that you can buy. I didn't buy any of those bags. I know Annie bought one of the bags from Berk, I think. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to see all of the merch. I again think that Universal probably took a lot of notes and said, "Hey, we want to do, what are the things people want to see more of? We have heard so much stuff about the screen-based attractions at Universal, the motion simulators. There's not any really here. The closest thing I can think of in that would be probably the Mario Kart, but that's more of an AR experience with physical sets. So, I mean, I feel like they kind of like took note of that when they were building this park. Food, it's a 180. I mean, there are a couple places I can think of in Universal Studios or at Islands of Adventure that I like to eat at, but Three Broomsticks, I like the meal that they have there. The Jurassic Park restaurant, I like that one. Mythos is fun to eat in, but other than that, like I feel like they have so many more options in this park for food, and then the merch is just, again, they came to play. I think Jake said they didn't have to go so hard, but they did, and they did that for us. So yeah, I have a lot of new things that I am going to cherish here, and probably a lot of things I regret that I didn't buy. I wish I'd gotten a Super Nintendo World T-shirt, but I'll probably get one of those the next time I'm there. But yeah. So I don't know if anybody else has any questions about anything, but I just really wanted to kind of show off and talk about this because, like I said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go into a park, and I felt like I needed to tell somebody. So I appreciate you guys being there and hearing about it. It's Stormy Stitch said Universal's really stepping up their pin game. I agree. I almost bought pins, and I'm like, wait a minute. I try not to buy too many Disney pins, and now I'm going to get, fully immersed in buying these pins for Epic. But now there's more stuff at Universal that I want. I've always made it a rule that I don't buy the popcorn buckets. I know that Shannon, when we came on, said I smell plastic. I didn't buy any popcorn buckets because it violates 2 of my rules. One is you have to buy it. One is it has to be from a Disney park, and the second is that it has to be from a cart. And usually when they sell popcorn at Universal, they sell the popcorn buckets at the gift shops, which I've always found was a little bit strange. But there's a Mario bucket that's really cool. There's a Toothless bucket that's really cool. There's a Star bucket that's really cool from Mario, and the Toad sipper. I definitely paid attention to a lot of plastic that I thought about getting and breaking that rule, but I think if that happens, I probably will get kicked out of my house. But that day may come where I just finally give in and start buying some of the stuff there. But there weren't popcorn stands yet. That was another thing that I noticed as we were walking around. And again, 2 months before opening. This park is not like, it's still in preview mode. It's still in technical rehearsals, but there were some stands that were nondescript that like look like they're going to be maybe some additional food stands there. I don't know why they would need them because they have so much food already, but they're going to plus it out from there. There weren't really popcorn stands that I saw around there either. Maybe they'll add those as they go, and probably more merch stands, probably a lot more like digital signage and things that are coming soon. So, but yeah, in general, it was an amazing experience to be able to go into this park 2 months beforehand and to see how much of it they've got together. I think we've been on the fence about whether we think this is going to affect the way Disney does business, and I hope it does. I hope that Disney takes a look at this and says, wait a minute, we need to do better. The immersiveness of this is great. The fact that they got to build this from scratch, the fact that it was almost as long from start to finish to build this park as it was to build Tron speaks volumes to the investment that Universal is putting into this world, and there's going to be expansion. They've already announced that there's already going to be a phase 2. There's already going to be more coming, and already it took 2 days and we didn't even finish it all. We did Monsters 3 times and we did eat a lot of food, but we didn't get to finish it all. So I feel like there's also a lot of nighttime stuff we haven't seen yet. I know that they've done some fireworks testing. This preview ended at 6, and it was still daylight out, so we didn't get to see some of the lighting shows and effects. We didn't get to see some of the fountain shows that they will probably bring, or the drones that we know that they have. We didn't get to see any of that stuff. So there's still so much more coming in Celestial Park. I didn't even talk about this. There's a carousel, which is the best carousel I've ever been on. It has 7 different song profiles, I believe, and each song profile has a different vibe to it, and the attraction reacts differently to those. That's very cool. And then there's a splash pad that hasn't opened yet, so there's going to be 3 attractions in what is basically their main street, plus all the shops and the and the food, and all of it is just kind of amazing. So the grand scale of the lands, the amazing vibe. It's the kind of place I'd want to go hang out. Like Epcot has always been that kind of place where it's like I don't need to necessarily do anything but go and hang out and vibe. And I feel like you could definitely do this in Epic and go and just hang out and vibe. And the immersiveness of Potter, and like I said, the Streetmosphere characters and the theming and all of it is just amazing. So there's just so much more to come. This is probably just the tip of the iceberg, and it has been amazing. So, can I say anything about the audio loops in the park? Specifically curious about the Danny Elfman Dark Universe score. The thing about Dark Universe was that when you walk through the portal, that music hits you immediately, and you feel it. Like, that's crazy. Like, they use the visuals of the fog and the land, and I want to see this at night. At night, I bet this is amazing. But the music walking through was so cool, and when I was rewatching How to Train Your Dragon, even the Berk music is amazing as you walk in, and it's all part of that experience, is hearing the music as you go through. It was neat going into the circus tent in the Ministry of Magic Land. As you're walking through the queue, even the queue of the circus tent for the show is next level. I could hear the music change as we walked from one tent into the next. It merged into the next room. So I think that the Danny Elfman music, I mean, the whole land of Dark Universe is so well done, and I can't wait to see it at night. But yeah, the Danny Elfman music is, the music is very cool. Anything else that you guys want to ask? But I appreciate you guys just tuning in for this. I haven't done a live stream on my own channel before, but this didn't feel like something that I could do anywhere else but here. So I post a lot of stuff from footage that I see from concerts that we do, different opportunities that I've had to do different things. San Diego Comic-Con, I've got to go to that, D23, things where I want to share that with somebody. So it's nice that you guys jumped in and wanted to watch a little bit and share a little bit about this experience, because it was something that I can't get over it. I can't get over it. The whole thing, top to bottom, was so well done. And the fact that Universal said, hey, we're going to give this experience to our team members to be able to give to their friends and family, and bring them in and treat them right, and test this out and really make sure that this is the right experience with these technical rehearsals and the embargo on the photos to make sure that, like, the wrong, people don't get the wrong impression of what's happening, because it's still 2 months away from opening. And it already feels like it could be my favorite park. I mean, it's that good. It's so good. So, thank you guys for sharing this with me, and hopefully you guys will subscribe, and I'll try to, there's a lot of other things I want to talk about. I want to talk about my first, something happened last year, my first Run Disney experience, which I thought, again, was so cool to do that. I want to talk about, some other stuff that's that I've been able to experience that I want to share. So hopefully you guys will tune in, and I appreciate you. Thank you guys for being in the chat, Brandy and Jake and Kira and Mike, and I feel like I'm playing Romper Room now. Nobody else here knows Romper Room. Evie and Joe. Thank you guys a lot. It means so much that you guys came to hang out and listen to me ramble about this and show off my stuff. Hopefully we'll do it again. Thank you guys. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.